One cool thing about cut in this game is that it opens up a few shortcuts that allow you to avoid the grass like I did just now. So now there's this youngster with the Ratata who wants to fight, so I'm going to humor him and... what? Didn't he want to fight? What the hell happened there? Maybe he thought I was taking my time too much and changed his mind. I didn't remember that could happen. Maybe that's what had happened, but... honestly, I have no idea why he doesn't want to fight anymore. You saw it as well as I did. He wanted a rematch. Why doesn't he want one anymore? Well, maybe he wisened up and realized he'd just lose again. But anyway, I had a comment on my previous video, and apparently Emerald Deoxys has been removed from Stage 3 testing because it was too clearly Uber. Now that proves that I wasn't the only one to think, what the hell were they thinking? Why are we coming back to Emerald Deoxys again? And speaking of video comments, there was a comment I got on one of my red videos saying that the guy actually liked the red and blue sprite the best because they were the originals. Well, personally, I have trouble believing that there are people who think such a thing, but they actually do exist, apparently. Well, I'm sorry, but the shit I took in my diaper as a baby doesn't smell any better than the shit I'm taking right now in the toilet as an adult. And speaking of babies, it's time to take my newborn Togepi to Professor Elm. Incidentally, it starts out with Charm, which could be really useful if I could manage to nail one on Whitney's Miltank, though I doubt that because it's got Stomp and Rollout, both of which will undoubtedly knock Togepi out in one turn. But I haven't checked the gender of that Togepi, but if it's immune to Attract, then if it decides to use Attract for no adequate reason, well then maybe I can nail a Charm. And the same for Milk Drink. Oh, well now what's the reward? I haven't checked what I was gonna get. Oh, an Everstone. Yippee! That is completely useless! So, while I'm on my way back to the Ilex Forest, I'm going to sell it because the money I get from it is definitely going to be more useful than something that prevents something I want to happen. That's a stupid concept for an item! What were they thinking? Oh well. Anyway, now it's time to make my way back to Ilex Forest. And here we are, Ilex Forest. And yes, I did sell that Everstone. I mean, come on! The trick for breeding and carrying over natures didn't exist until Emerald. So the Everstone is essentially useless because you can cancel out the evolution manually. So what's the point? You can cancel it out manually, not that I would ever want it to happen. And when I do want to delay evolutions, it's because it evolves with a stone and it learns certain moves by level up that the evolution doesn't, for example Vulpix, but I don't need to make it hold an Everstone to stop it from evolving. I just have to not give it the stone it needs. But oh yeah, there is one case where I would want to delay a level up evolution, and that's Shroomish, because Shroomish learns Spore at level 54 in the 3rd generation, and 45 in the 4th, if memory serves me correctly. And yeah, Breloom doesn't learn it at all, so you really got to evolve Shroomish extremely late if you want to have your Spore Breloom. And even there, if I want to delay the evolution, I'm just going to do it manually every time it levels up, because then it would open my item slot for something far more useful than something that effectively does nothing. And speaking of useless, I said in the last video that I had a few things to say about Togepi, and that would be how much of a pain in the ass it is to evolve. Because the thing is, it doesn't learn any offensive moves by level up. Well, I think it does learn Double Edge extremely late, like level 38 or 40 or something like that. and until then, all you've got for damage is Metronome. But we all know how reliable that is, so you gotta turn to TMs, preferably ones that you can get in infinite quantities, and even there you've got stuff like Headbutt and Return running off 20 base attack. That is just wonderful. The special attack's a bit better at 40, but the only renewable special TM it gets is Fire Blast, and you all know how quickly Fire Blast ammo runs out. You should never ever rely on it as your main move, especially when you got nothing to support it. Though there is Flamethrower and Crystal, so it's a little bit less bad, but still, 40 special attack, that is not going to level up very fast. And yeah, I'm aware there are other ways to increase happiness, but they are fewer and farther between than in later generations. Leveling up here is probably the best and safest way to increase a Pokemon's happiness. And you're going to need to do a lot of it to evolve that Togepi. Oh yeah, now I remember this guy. This guy gives me a Headbutt TM, which by the way is viable at the department store in Goldenrod. And Headbutt isn't just any attack in this generation. You can use it to headbutt trees, and sometimes there are Pokemon that are going to fall out of those trees, and you can get really interesting stuff from those trees, such as Heracross. I would mention Apom, but Apom wasn't very good until this generation, so yeah, if that mechanic comes back in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, then maybe it'll be actually worth hunting down. But in Gold, Silver, Crystal, the only really notable thing to obtain by headbutting trees would be Heracross. And to draw a parallel with the most recent generation, this is, yes, the equivalent of, putting honey on trees and waiting several hours and hoping something comes along. Except this mechanic, headbutting, is actually much better because you don't have to spend several hours just waiting for something to come. So if, for example, you roll something like a Caterpie, well, you can just headbutt the tree again right away and hopefully something better is going to come up. Whereas in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, getting the really good stuff, it takes way too much time and effort to be worth it. Even Munchlax, and especially Munchlax because it's so much rarer than the rest. I've heard rumors that it was available only on the tree by the power plant, but other people say they've seen Munchlax elsewhere. So I don't really know what to believe, and I just asked someone else to breed one for me to circumvent that. And oh yeah, I remember something about what this guy is saying. You know, I was checking Cerebee's Poke-Earth lately, and I noticed there was a section for wild Pokemon, Headbutt on special trees. Well, there are those normal trees which will net you the more common stuff, but on special trees, that's where you'll be getting the more interesting stuff like Heracross or Pineco or even Apom, even though it sucks. So the key is knowing where the special trees are, and unfortunately the Poke-Earth doesn't mention that, though I guess you could find it on the internet if you look hard enough. And by the way, this isn't going to happen in this video, but in the next video I'm going to attempt to avoid all the trainers on Route 34 because I want to keep them for Abra's training, because I at least want to have it evolve into Alakazam by the time I enter the gym. Sure, I'm going to be using wild Pokemon for a part of the training, but I'm not going to go all the way to level 16 with just them. That's going to take a lot of time, so that's why I want to keep those trainers for Alakazam. And if I remember, that woman at the right is going to give me the Sweet Scent TM. Once again, it's a complete piece of garbage! Come on! You walk into the grass, and instead of just walking around for a bit, you waste a valuable move slot on one of your Pokemon for this. Seriously, why do they consider this a good substitute for a few steps in the grass? Even the little kids these games are marketed towards know that. Come on!